So we are going to talk about phrases to use in group discussions. So it doesn't matter if it might be a professional setting at the workplace, it might be students. That means that students can use these phrases. These are very simple phrases, and you have a lot to choose from. Choose ones that are comfortable for you. So just choose ones that you think, okay, that suits my personality, that suits the purpose of me being there. But as you know, in a group discussion, you need to keep the conversation going, right? You want to have people participating, interacting with you, but you also need to keep to an agenda, okay? So I've got several phrases for you to try out. As I've said, very simple phrases. You can even try this with your classmates or your Zoom, your friends on Zoom, meetings on Zoom as well. But when we talk about group discussions, normally it's, you have an objective to reach. It's not just a conversation. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, now if you are leading the discussion, you are chairing the discussion, you are the initiator, so you can start like this. You can start the discussion like this. You can say, hello everyone, great to see you all here. Hello everyone, great to see you all here. And when I talk about small talk there, if you can see the slides, small talk. So when you say, hello everyone, great to see you all here, and a bit of a small talk, keep that under control, but it's good to break the ice because, you don't want people feeling a little bit too stiff and serious. You set the tone. So small talk can be something like, okay, how's everybody? How's the family? What did you do last weekend? If no one answers, then you can start by sharing what happened to you over the weekend, what exciting project you're working on. Try to start on something positive so that everybody feels they're in a good mood to start the discussion. So you want everybody in a good mood. So if you're chairing the meeting, this is very, very important that you don't start negatively, okay? Next, you can talk about, you can mention, we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss. Let's begin our discussion, or you can even ask, shall we begin? You can even say, let's get started. Let's get started, right? And then as the chairperson, the leader, you talk about the agenda or the objective as well as the outcome. So for me, I like a discussion to have a goal in mind. I mean, I want a leader who tells us what's the goal, what the goal is. Obviously, because you don't want the meeting to go off point, the discussion to just go beyond the time limit and all. So make sure if you're the leader, you have a clear objective and an outcome. So you can say, after this meeting, after our discussion, I hope that we can reach a conclusion, or I hope everybody can vote yes or no, etc. Okay, so you want that to be mentioned clearly. Okay, right, so agenda and objective and outcome, very important. Okay, now when you start the ball rolling and no one talks yet, maybe they're not warmed up yet, then you can express your opinion first if you want. So you can say something like this, right? So hold on. Okay. It seems to me that, and then you talk about the issue at hand, or I think that, I am sure that, I feel, or I don't feel, and I believe that, I don't believe that. So that's you expressing your opinion first before you ask other people, okay? All right, then after you talk about your opinion, you can use any of these phrases. You can then signal the end of your turn. So what I mean by signaling the end of your turn is to say that you're done speaking, you're done speaking. So that's when you can actually say, that's all from me. That's all from me. I think you get the point. I think you get the point. I think you get the idea. I think I've made my point, and so on, and so on. So after you say something, and so on. So make sure that your voice, your tone of voice, your pitch also goes down after you finish speaking. It shows that you're finished and you can let other people talk now, right? So play around with your voice, make sure people know when you're done speaking. And normally you do that with your voice by going down, okay? All right. Let's talk about asking for an opinion, right? So you're done speaking, so you wanna ask for their opinion now. So this is what you do. Okay, you can ask for an opinion, you can say, what do you think? What do you think, Linda? What do you think, Hasniza? Okay, what do you think, Asmira? Do you agree? I'm gonna shout out a few names here that I can see here. Do you agree, Farah? Do you agree, Khairunisa? Okay, what about you? What about you, Nadia? What's your take on? What's your view on? What's your opinion on this matter? Or what's your opinion on what I've just said? Okay, or how do you feel about the issue? Or how do you feel about, or what do you think about what I've just said? Okay, you can even check if they actually heard what you said because you expressed your opinion before. And it's very, very important that you listen carefully as they speak. Okay, so here are the phrases. Again, let me show you. What do you think? Do you agree? What about you? What's your take on, view on, opinion on this? How do you feel about? And then listen carefully as they speak. Okay, listen carefully as they speak. All right. Now, as they speak, it is up to you. Now, if you agree or disagree, but I have several phrases for you to choose. So I've got phrases for you to choose when it comes to expressing your agreement. When it comes to expressing your agreement. So you might say, you're right. You're right. I agree. I think so. I think so. He may be right. He may be right. I agree with you. I agree with you. I see your point. I see your point. Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a good idea, right? So again, if you express your agreement, make sure that you're sincere. If you agree, yes. And then it's great if you tell them, I agree because you have a reason, instead of just saying, you're right, I think so, that's it. So it's good if you show that you have listened carefully. So that means that you actually repeat their point. Which point did you like? So you say that. I agree with you about da, 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 da. I agree with you on whatever, this matter. Okay? Express your agreement. Now, sometimes we don't understand. Sometimes the person who's just expressed their opinion might have, they spoke too fast, or they were not clear, they needed to give more examples, or people are confused with what they're saying. So you can ask for clarification, and it's your job to do this. So don't assume that they're gonna clarify if, sometimes they assume that you understand because you didn't ask. So it's your job to ask for clarification. You can say something like this. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't think I understand what you mean by. I'm sorry, I don't think I understand what you mean by. What do you mean by? Could you explain that to me again? Could you explain that to me again? Or may I know why you said? May I know why you said? I'm not sure I understand your point. Do you mean to say that? Could you give an example? Could you give an example? Could you give an example? Okay, so let's do that again. I'm sorry, I don't think I understand what you mean by, or what do you mean by, or could you explain that to me again? May I know why you said? Or I'm not sure I understand your point. Do you mean to say that? Or the best way, could you give an example? Could you give an example? Okay, so you're helping them. Don't think that you are causing some sort of inconvenience to others, because if you are asking for clarification, you are perhaps speaking on behalf of the others as well. Okay, so you want to help the speaker make themselves clear. You want to help that. Okay, you want to make the speaker clear. So you're helping by asking them to give an example or repeat what they've said. Right? Don't feel guilty. I know that some of us, we're too polite. We don't even want to interrupt people. Anyone who's like too polite here? It's good to be polite, but too polite, raise your hand. If you're too polite, you're like, well, I don't want to interrupt, right? But sometimes it's good to make the speaker stop for a bit and then clarify him or herself. Okay. All right. Now, this is hard. The next step, if you need to reject an opinion. Now, this is hard for those who are on the polite side. It's sometimes hard for me as well. And really, really depends on my relationship with the speaker. But I've trained myself to be assertive. So I hope you are also doing that. It's part of your training to become more confident, which is to learn how to reject an opinion, an idea. But you have to do this politely, of course. You're still polite. However, think of it this way. You're doing everyone a favor by looking at things objectively. Okay, so you can reject an opinion if it's a bad one, obviously, if it's a bad idea. All right. So I have several phrases for you to use. Okay, let's do this. I see your point, but I see your point, but I also like this one. I see your point and is better than but, because and is more positive. So I see your point and let me add to it. Okay. Another one is, I understand your concern, but, and then you can minimize their fear, whatever the fear, concern that they have. I understand your concern, but we have this sorted out. Don't worry. Okay. That's interesting, but now I'm not sure if I like this one. That's interesting, but, because as soon as they hear but, that means they're going to hear, oh, it's not interesting. So you can actually say that's interesting and, so I'm going to add that. You can add this yourself. That's interesting. And let me add to that. Let me make it even more interesting. You have a good point. You have a good point. However, you have a good point. However, now be careful again with your tone of voice, with your body language and all. Okay. All right. Avoid saying, these are no-nos. What a silly idea. What a silly idea. Or, oh, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Right. Because you don't want to be aggressive. You don't want to be aggressive. Okay. So be careful with that. I can see comments here. Okay, I'll say hi to you after I'm done with some of these phrases. All right, to reject an opinion. Okay, so make sure you practice body language, your intonation and all. And then you can even ask your friends, when I speak, do I sound assertive or aggressive or passive aggressive? Or do I sound too weak? And then if they say, you need to work on your facial expressions, or you need to work on your intonation, you come across as too serious, right? Okay, so always find out by asking for feedback. Okay, right. To express your disagreement is another thing that you need to practice as well. You can say something like this, very simple. I disagree. I have to disagree. Again, your tone of voice. I don't think that's a good idea. The problem with that is, right? But make sure you don't accuse that person. The problem with your idea, don't say the problem with your idea. Instead, the problem with that is, instead of accusing that person, your or you, the problem with you, don't say that. Or I disagree with you. Don't say with you. I disagree with that idea, with that concept. So make sure you still maintain politeness. Okay, you're not accusing people, because if you do, no one's going to listen. They're not going to listen to you because you have just shut them down. Okay, you know what shoot them down means, right? So be careful with that. Okay. Right, here's another one as well. It's difficult for us polite people to interrupt, but sometimes we have to interrupt. So I have 7 phrases for you to try, and these are still polite, okay? So you can interrupt by saying, number 1, sorry for interrupting, but, or number 2, I'm sorry to interrupt, but. Again, you start with sorry. Sorry, it's okay, it's nice and polite. Or before I forget, and you can even say sorry for that one, because that person's speaking and then you need to interrupt. Oh, hold on, before I forget, but make sure your voice is loud so that people can hear that you're about to interrupt, or you're speaking on top of someone. So you need to speak louder than the other speaker, okay? And you also need to gesture as well, that you're interrupting with your hands or your fingers like this, like hand or your finger, or with your body language. You're sitting up a bit straight, okay? You can even say, oh, can I add something here? Okay. Number 5, sorry, can I stop you there? Okay. And number 6, sorry to interrupt, but I think we should get back to our topic on, okay, this is very difficult, but if you're the chairperson, you have the right to keep the conversation on point and keep everybody, following, the agenda. Yeah, but so I would say number 6 here, sorry to interrupt, but I think we should get back to our topic on, this is the right of the leader, right? So yes. However, if you are a listener and you are very assertive, you can say that actually. And I've done this many times, because sometimes you have a leader who's not able to interrupt people. Sometimes you have to be the one to interrupt people by saying, can we get back on track? Okay. All right. Number 7. Excuse me, can you please repeat what you have said? This is if you're interrupting that person. Again, we've talked about interrupting and asking for clarification. This is the same thing. Okay. All right. So tell me in the comments which ones you like and which ones you cannot do, or you've tried and failed. All right. Now, the next one is, if you have to express, or you need to express that you have nothing to share. You have nothing to share, right? And because someone says, right, Nurul, what's your opinion? And you're like, oh, is it my turn? Okay. You can say, don't say I don't have any view on this. I think you've covered everything. Oh, this is a good one. I think you've covered everything, because actually you have nothing to say really, right? Or this one is a good one. Oh, let me get back to you on that later. So make sure if you're going to say this, you do get back to them later. This happens because sometimes we can't think on the spot, or you're afraid to say something because it might be wrong. You can say, let me get back to you on that later. And people get it, okay? Because you can't say yes or no yet until you've done your research. So it's a great way to just say, I can't answer now, but I'll get back to you on that later. Okay, I'll find out, okay, if you need to do a bit of more research. Okay, all right. Now, finally, you want to come to an end. You can say, let's conclude, shall we? So this would be the chairperson's job, the leader. Let's conclude, shall we? Or looks like we have come to an agreement. I think it's time to wrap up our discussion. Or let's bring this discussion to a close. So a leader would have to say this. You have to to signal to everybody, we're coming to an end. Let's wrap things up. Okay, you can, but if you are not the leader, then it really depends. You don't want to sound too aggressive by saying, let's conclude, shall we? And you're not even the leader. Okay. But if everyone's on equal status, right, you're all the same, then yeah, anyone can conclude because, time's up, right? Time's up. So to summarize and to conclude would be, yeah, the leader's job, but also it could also be you. So you can say, so in short, you could say, to sum up, let me summarize the key points. Let's go over the main points. And to conclude. And if it's a discussion, really, I'm the type of person who I like to go over things so that everyone's on point, even though I'm not the leader, but I just want to make sure that we all understand what we all have to do. And if I don't understand what they have to do, at least I show them or I demonstrate to them that I understand what I have to do after our discussion. So I'll say, so let's go, let's conclude. I'm supposed to do and then Nina, what are you supposed to do? You can do that because it's a discussion. Okay. All right. And then you can close with a thank you. You can close with a thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you all. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. Thank you for your time. Thank you all. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. Okay. So make sure you end on a high note. Everyone's positive. Everyone feels energized after a group discussion, right? Because a group discussion can be intense, you've covered so many things and everyone has to do a lot of things and people feeling, oh God, after this, I have to do this and that. So you want to end on a high note. Make sure you thank everybody so everybody feels good and they feel productive. They've had a productive meeting. They feel like, oh, that was a fruitful discussion. Okay. So remember, just remember to listen, be prepared, do your research, and always have an intention to be contributive and helpful in a group discussion. Okay, so I can't stress enough, you do need to be prepared in a group discussion. Don't go there empty-handed, like clueless. So as much as you can, go there with an agenda, with an objective, with an intention to be contributive and to be helpful. Okay, right. Okay, we have a question from Nizam. Can you explain what's the meaning of let's agree to disagree? Let's agree to disagree. So this is when you have a conflicting opinion. Your opinion is X, that person's Y, and you're not gonna agree on the matter. So you can say, you know what, let's agree, let's both of us agree to disagree on this issue. Let's agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. So you're both like, okay, fine. I can't change your mind. You can't change my mind. Just agree that this is it. That's it. Okay. Great question there. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do you have any other questions? Okay. So before we end, I want to say, go to myenglishmatters.com and subscribe to our email list because you'll get 7 tips to speak with confidence. If you like this sort of thing, go to myenglishmatters.com and subscribe to our email list. You'll get 7 tips to speak with confidence and so much more. We send through email. So we have weekly tips, some are free, yeah, and then we also talk about our courses and our programs through email as well. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. And I'm going to look through some of the questions, scroll through if you have any questions before we go off. Wow, Nurul, lots of love from your ex-student. Wow, 16 years back. My goodness. Okay, great. Okay, great to see you. All right. So that's it then. That's it all from me, signing off on behalf of the My English Matters team. Thank you very much for listening. See you guys soon. Bye, everybody.